This week, I'm going to lead you through a full body Hatha Yoga practice with Camel as the peak pose. Let's get started. For this week's practice, you could have a block as an optional prop somewhere next to your mat, but other than that, we're not going to use any props. You might also have a prop-free practice. We're going to start from lying down on the back. So make your way into a brief resting pose. You could leave your knees bent if that feels better in your back, or you might extend your legs. We're going to spend a couple of minutes in this resting pose, focusing on the breath before we start to move more. If you want, you can bring hands onto your body, maybe one hand on the ribs where you can feel the bottom of the rib cage, the other hand closer to your belly. And then take a few slightly slower breaths in and out. You might still adjust your pose if you start to feel discomfort or pain in your back, in your hips, in your shoulders. And then after those few slower breaths, just start to continue. Okej, men sanon den årsam. After those few slightly slower breaths, just continue to observe your natural breath. Allowing yourself to notice each breath in and equally notice each breath out. And we'll take another 5 to 10 breaths in this resting pose. Notice if you're holding tension in the shoulders or neck. Tension that you could release, you could soften before we start moving. If you notice that you're biting your teeth together, you could open and close your mouth a couple of times, just softening your jaw. And as we start to move, if Ujjayi breath is a part of your practice, you might find your gentle Ujjayi breath, so gently narrowing the air passage deep down in your throat with your vocal cords. And this can help you to stay with that slower pace and can also help you to keep your core engaged as we're slowly building towards the camel pose, which is a big back bend. Now, if you have your hands on your body, just slowly let your hands and arms come down on the mat. And then reach arms overhead along the floor. Lengthen your legs away from your arms and stretch the whole body long. Take a breath here, in and out. And then you could release your arms back next to your sides, and we're going to bring knees towards the chest, towards the belly, and then lift the feet, lift the legs up into the air. We don't need to straighten the legs, and we'll start to gently shake the legs. You could do it kind of both legs at the same time, or just one leg at the time, if that feels better. But just gently waking up your feet. You might feel some movement in your calves, in your thighs. And a few more breaths, shaking the legs, getting the legs moving before putting any weight on the feet, putting any weight on the legs. Just gently waking up the legs. Keep breathing. We'll take another breath in and out. And then slowly let that shaking calm down. And now hug your knees in towards the chest, towards the belly. And we'll start to rock forward and back. So hugging your knees a few times, rock forward and back. Slowly bringing yourself all the way up into a seat. And we're going to now find a deer seat. And we're going to have the left shin in front of us first and right leg on the side or slightly behind you. And this is where you could have a block on your kind of left hand side next to your left hip. We're going to do 3 different deer poses. And we'll start with a deer twist. We're going to twist to the left. So if you have a block, you could bring your left hand onto the block or just step left hand on the mat next to you. Right hand could be somewhere on the right thigh or maybe the right ankle. We're going to inhale, lift up through the spine. The right hip might come off the mat. Exhale, slowly twist just a bit further to your left. So it might be that you're even lifting the right buttock higher off the mat. Gently turning your chest. You might look over the left shoulder if that feels good in the neck. And make sure you can still breathe. We'll take another breath in and out in that twist. And then as you exhale, slowly come back to center, release the twist. Now you might leave left hand on a block or you might bring left hand down on the mat. We're going to go into the lifted deer. Same base for the pose, but now as you inhale, we're going to lift the whole pelvis off the mat, reach right arm up, kind of diagonally away from the right knee. And there could be a small back bend. You might be opening chest up to the ceiling, or it could be more of a side bend, opening the right side body. Both shins pressing down, knees gently pressing down towards the mat. Also activating that left arm, shoulder. Take another breath in and out. And then as you exhale, slowly release your pelvis down, bring the right arm down. And then we're going to have one more deer on this side. For this one, I'm going to bring my right foot a bit closer to the right buttock, the reclining deer. So now, as you inhale, walk your left hand away from the right knee. So you start to lean away from the right knee, pelvis quite close to the mat. And this could be enough for you to find some opening at the front of the right thigh. Or you could lean down onto your left elbow. You might even lean your back onto the mat if that feels good for you. So now you're more reclining, leaning away from the right knee. I quite like to go a bit more sideways into the reclining deer, but some people like to go straight on to the back. Find an edge for you. You could also bring right hand on the mat on the left side of the body if that helps, and maybe look down to the mat. But looking for an opening in the right thigh, the front line. We'll take another breath here in and out. And then as you inhale, slowly bring yourself up. Help with your hands, your arms to bring yourself all the way up. And we're going to step hands behind the pelvis, bring legs, both legs in front of us, and do a couple of windshield wipers, just swinging the legs from side to side. And here you might feel a bit of a difference between the left and the right hip and leg. And then very surprisingly, we're going to do these deer poses on the other side. So come back to your seat. Now right shin in front of you. I'm going to move my block to the right side. So if you're using a block, bring the block now closer to the right hip. And then we're going to start with a twisted deer. Right hand either on the mat or on the block. left hand could be on the right thigh or on the right ankle. We'll inhale, gently lift up through the back. And again, left buttock might come off the mat. Exhale, twist gently to your right. And trying to keep that long line going up through the head, twisting the spine around its own axis. Again, you might turn your head, but if you start to tense a lot in the neck or shoulders, then leave your neck in a more neutral place, maybe looking out to the side rather than behind you. Take another breath in and out in your twist. And then exhale, release the twist. Come back to center. You can leave your block under the hand or step your right hand on the mat as we go into the lifted deer. Now, as you inhale, lift your whole pelvis off the mat, reaching the left arm up, pressing down through the right arm. And again, it could be that you're opening chest up to the ceiling. Maybe you're looking up, or maybe you're leaning more sideways. Maybe it's more of an opening for the left side body. Again, both legs active, shins, knees pressing down. You can look down to the mat as well if that feels better. Release tops of the shoulders away from the ears. Take one more breath in and out. And then with your exhalation, slowly release the pelvis down. Bring left arm down. You could roll the shoulders here. And then we have our reclining deer. Last deer pose for this practice. We're going to now, again, I'll bring my left foot a bit closer to the buttock. You can adjust angles in your joints. And then I'm walking the right hand away from the left knee. Inhale here. And then if you want to go further down, exhale. You can bring your right elbow to the mat. You might lean your back all the way down. So now looking for an opening through the front of the left thigh, the front of the thigh, maybe front of the hip. Make sure there's no pain in the knee joint. You can also turn a bit more sideways. Maybe bring left hand on the right side of your body as well. And breathe here. Allow your breaths to move all the way down towards the belly area as if you're breathing into that left thigh. We're just creating that opening, that space along the front line, preparing for the camel. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, as you inhale, press down through your hands, your arms, bring yourself all the way up. And then we're going to turn towards the top of the mat, still seated, and we're going to slowly roll down onto our back. So slowly start to roll down vertebra by vertebra, asking the core to engage more. Try to go slowly, slowly, without collapsing down, vertebra by vertebra, all the way down until your head comes down, your shoulders come down. Bring arms next to the sides, bring heels quite close to the buttocks. Inhale. And as you exhale, lift your pelvis, your back off the mat into the bridge pose. You might walk shoulder blades closer together, but keep your hands separate. Keep your palms active and really focus on your feet. Focus on your inner thighs, finding that strong core line from the soles of your feet through the inner legs, all the way to your pelvis, to your spine, and finding an edge that doesn't hurt in your back. It's a very close shape compared to the camel. So this is a very good preparation for the camel pose. Keep your legs active, inner thighs active. Take another breath in and out in your bridge. And then exhale slowly. Release your back down. Still keep legs active. until your pelvis is down on the mat. And now we're going to hug the knees in again as we start to rock forward and back. This time we're going to bring ourselves all the way up to standing. So we're going to gather some speed, start to rock forward and back. And then when you feel that you have the momentum, bring yourself all the way up to standing. So you bring your feet down and lift yourself all the way up to standing. And once you're up standing, you can roll your shoulders a few times. I'm going to turn towards you as we go into the tree pose and half moon side bend. And we're going to stand on the right foot first. So once you have made your way up to standing, shift the weight onto your right foot. Now still focusing on the feet, inner thigh line here. Open your left hip and you choose if you leave your toes on the mat in that left foot, or you can bring your foot below the knee or even up onto the inner thigh. But in both legs, inner thighs active, buttocks gently active. You bring palms together in front of the chest. Even lightly press your hands together. Focus your eyes onto something that's not moving. And try to feel that line going down through your right foot. At the same time, line going up through your spine. Tops of the shoulders are soft. The right foot is active. Take another breath in and out here. And then as you inhale, slowly lengthen arms up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, open arms sideways down. And then you could release your both feet down as well. And just rock the weight from one foot to the other. We're going to go into the half moon pose before we do tree to the other side. Now, feet either roughly hip width apart, or you can bring your feet together. You decide. Still feeling the feet, the inner thighs active, lifting all the way up towards the pelvis, towards the spine. As you inhale, lengthen both arms up. And now hold your right wrist with the left hand. As you exhale, keep lifting up and then lean to your left into a side bend. Trying to keep the chest open. Elbows could be happily bent so that you could keep the tops of the shoulders released away from the ears. Now feel that strength coming through the legs into the spine. Head leaning into that side bend. You might look down to the mat. But feeling the connection through the whole body. It's a long kind of sideways arch. Take another breath in and out. And then with an in-breath, lifting up, and exhale, release the arms. You can roll the shoulders. Now we'll do tree pose and that half moon to the other side. So shift weight onto your left foot and open your right hip. And again, feel buttocks in a way hugging towards each other. So both sides active. Bring right foot either next to the ankle, next to your shin, or up onto the inner thigh. You're feeling those two lines, so one line going down, other line going up. And then bring palms together. And again, lightly pressing palms together might help you to find some stability in your upper body, around the ribs. It might also help to soften the shoulders and the neck. And try to breathe more out to your ribs, that kind of lateral sideways breathing, keeping a subtle lifting in through the lower belly. And letting yourself feel that connection from your shoulders down to your hips, and wobbling is very fine. Now with your next in-breath, slowly lengthen arms up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, open arms sideways down, and then release both feet on the mat. You can rock from one foot to the other. And then we're going to go into the half moon on the other side. As you inhale, press feet down, lengthen arms up. Now hold your left wrist with the right hand. And then exhale, lift yourself into that side bend. So now you're leaning to your right, opening the left side. And this side might feel different. That's very fine. Find that edge where you can still breathe. Feet grounding down. Tops of the shoulders soft. Again, you might look down towards the mat if that releases the neck more. Let's take one more breath in and out. And then as you inhale, slowly bring yourself up. Exhale, release the arms. You can roll the shoulders. And then we'll have another balancing pose from here. We'll go into warrior 3, building those connections from head to feet, head to tail. I'm going to turn sideways. You can face whichever direction gives you space to lean forward and back as we go into our warrior 3. Again, standing on the right foot first. Lengthen the left leg behind you. And you could either bring palms together, you can bring arms next to your sides, or even reach arms overhead, which makes it a bit stronger for your back. Now lengthen your head away from that left foot. You can either stay here, or inhale, exhale, start to fly forward with your chest, with your head, at the same time reaching the left leg behind you, so maintaining that long line from head to your left foot. You might change where your arms are. And here again, keeping that subtle drawing in through the lower belly, so we're not collapsing the belly down, and hovering the chest off the mat. Long line through the whole back side of the body. Take another breath in and out. Standing leg knee could be bent. And then as you inhale, lift yourself back up. Bring feet down, lengthen both arms up, opening the chest. Exhale, bring arms down. Find your way back into mountain Tadasana pose. You can roll the shoulders. And then we're going to balance in that warrior 3 on the other side. So shift weight onto your left foot and lengthen your right leg behind you. You can make same or a different choice with your hands and arms. Again, a long line from head to your right foot. Breathe in and out, and you can stay here with your right foot toes on the mat. Or inhale, exhale, slowly flying forward. So rather than diving down, imagine you're reaching forward. And then breathe. The whole back line active. From your neck all the way to that right foot. It might help if you flex your right foot toes. Or even flex your right foot ankle. You can play with that. Make sure the weight is on the left heel as well in that standing leg foot. Take another breath in and out. And then as you inhale, start to lift your back up. Bring both feet down. Reach arms up, open the chest. And now as you exhale, fold forward, a full forward bend. You can bend your knees if you want. And we're going to take a few breaths here, in and out. If you want, you could bring your hands behind your ankles, behind your calves, and gently hug yourself towards the legs. You can also hold your elbows in front of the legs. Where do you feel your hands and arms would support the pose? Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, slowly start to bend your knees, bring yourself onto hands and knees. So walk your feet a bit further back so you can bring your knees down. And breathe in and out on all fours. Next, we're going to go into the gecko, the lizard pose, and then thread the needle. First side, step your right foot forward and then start to lean your pelvis down and forward. You could have your both hands maybe on the inside of that right foot. And you can either stay here, so we're opening the front of the left leg, maybe the back of the right leg, or the other option would be to come down onto your elbows. You can also use a block under the elbows if you have a block there. And try to here, keep your neck soft, whether you're on your elbows or on your hands. The right hip, so the front leg hip, could rotate open if that gives you more space, if it makes the pose either more accessible or just more manageable. Left foot toes could be tucked under. I quite like that because I'm going to do the same in camel pose. Or you might release the toes. You decide. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, if you're down on your elbows, inhale, lift onto your hands. And then from that gecko, bring your right knee back next to your left knee. We're back on all fours. And we'll go into thread the needle. Now we'll leave your right hand down. And as you inhale, reach left arm up. So you're twisting out to the left. And then as you exhale, slide your left arm under the right arm. You can bring your left shoulder, left side of the head on the mat. And if you want, you could reach your right arm behind the back. Twisting towards the right, opening your chest to the right. Take a couple more breaths here, in and out. Make sure you're not collapsed on your neck. And then slowly bring your right hand back onto the mat. And as you inhale, reach left arm up, twisting out to the left. And exhale, bring both hands to the mat. We're going to go into the gecko on the other side. So now we're going to step the left foot forward, maybe to the outside of the hands. And then start to slowly lean your pelvis down and forward. Check that in that left leg, knee is about on top of your ankle. Again, you can choose to go down onto the elbows. You could bring a block under the elbows. Or you can just stay on your hands. And this side might be different. You can make a different choice on the second side. Check that you leave space for the breaths. This can sometimes be quite an intense pose. So make sure you're not pushing so far that you can't breathe. We always breathe. Or if you find that the pose is stopping you from breathing, then I suggest coming out of the pose. In that gecko, let's take another breath or two in and out. And then if you're down on your elbows, inhale, come back to your hands, and then help your left knee back to your right knee, so we're back on all fours. Now we're going to leave the left hand down. Inhale, reach right arm up, twist out to the right. And then exhale, slide right arm under the left arm so that you can lean your right shoulder, maybe right side of the head onto the mat. And you can leave your left hand down or bring the left arm behind the back. So you're twisting to the left, opening your chest. And again, breathing here. It might be a challenging pose for the breath. And make sure you're also leaving weight onto your legs, so you're not just dumping all the weight onto your upper body. Take another breath in and out in your thread the needle. And then if you have left arm behind the back, bring your left hand down. Inhale, reach right arm up, twisting out to the right. And exhale, bring both hands to the mat. Now we're going to go into our first camel, which is going to be baby camel. And here we're going to come sit down on the shins, on the knees. If this is painful for the knees, then if you have a block there, bring that block under the pelvis. And it often takes a bit of load off the knees. It might be that you have your heels under your buttocks. For some people, the feet go to the outside. Or some people like to open their knees wider. So find a place that doesn't hurt in your feet, doesn't hurt in your knees. Inner thighs are still active, that gentle activation, like we did in the bridge, like we did in those standing poses. And then step hands behind the pelvis. Now my fingers point towards my feet, but it might be that yours point a bit more out to the sides. Find a place for your hands that feels safe for your shoulders. There's no pain in the shoulders. And then we'll start from here, inhaling, lifting the chest bone up. And this could be your baby camel. Or if you want to go a tiny bit further, next in-breath, lift your pelvis up into the air as well. Legs active, even your feet active. So you might press down through the tops of the feet, through the tops of your toes. Especially if you feel a bit niggling in your knees, it might help to activate your feet more. And keep breathing towards the chest space. Keep lifting up through your chest bone. Take another breath in and out. You might look up, might even look behind you. And then exhale, release your pelvis down. Close the chest. And now walk hands in front of you. Either come onto hands and knees, or you could come down onto elbows and knees. We'll do a bit of kind of circling disco cat movement here. So start to circle the weight from hands or elbows to knees and back. And just gently move your hips. And then you could start to find some cat-cow movements there. Allow your neck, your head to move as well. After a few circles one way, change the direction. So very free flow movement for your spine, for your shoulders, for your hips. Couple more circles, couple more breaths. And then allow the movement to calm down. If you're down on your elbows, lift onto your hands and knees. And then it's our peak pose. It's time for the full camel. Now lift yourself to stand on your knees. And here, knees roughly hip-width apart. And I like to tuck my toes under. It gives me more support through the feet. Also, if I want to reach hands to the feet, it lifts the elbows a bit higher up. But you can also keep your toes relaxed. That's up to you. Now, first imagine your sit bones reaching down towards the backs of the knees. Bring hands onto your lower back and just try to keep the lower back long rather than crunching it. And then as you inhale, lift up through the chest. And you can stay here. Or exhale, start to lean back with your shoulders, maybe with your pelvis. And you can either keep hands on your lower back or reach hands to your feet. Keep sending the sit bones down towards the backs of the knees, trying to keep the long line through the back rather than just hinging from the lower back. And again, you might look up, You might even look behind you, see what feels good for the neck. Or bring chin to your chest. Find space for your breaths in the chest. Keeping lower belly gently drawn in. Inner thighs active. Take another breath in and out in your camel. And then if you have hands on your feet, bring hands back onto your lower back and inhale up. And then we're going to go into child's pose. You could release your feet, lean pelvis down, and then lean your back, your head forward, finding your child's pose. You can open your legs wider. If it feels better for you to have feet together and knees open on the sides, you are very welcome to adjust where the legs are. You could rock your pelvis a bit from side to side. And now allow your head to lean down. If it doesn't lean down onto the mat, you could bring hands under the head. Let your shoulders, your arms soften. Just take a few more breaths in and out. And send those few breaths towards the back side of the body. Softening through the buttocks, softening through the spine. And then with your next few breaths, slowly bring yourself up into a seat. If you have a block there, you can put that block aside and bring yourself all the way down onto your pelvis. Now we're going to go into a forward bend. And you'll have option to do the butterfly forward bend or the turtle forward bend. The legs are roughly in the same place. So you have the soles of the feet turned towards each other. If you prefer sitting on a block here, you could bring a block under the pelvis. And then for butterfly, you could start with hands around the feet. For turtle, you could start to bring your hands and arms under your knees, under your thighs, and then inhale and exhale. Slowly round your back, your neck down and forward. So in the turtle pose, the elbows, forearms are under the knees or under the shins. And it's a different kind of forward bend. You might feel it in a different area of your back. It might also give support for the legs, hips and knees in a different way than the butterfly pose. But if it doesn't feel good, go for the butterfly. And in a butterfly pose, you can also walk hands further forward along the mat. Try to soften through the neck. Try to soften down through the pelvis. So you feel heavy pelvis grounded. Heavy head leaning forward. Take another breath in and out. And then slowly, if you're in a turtle pose, lift your knees slightly away from the mat so that you can now bring your back up, slide your arms away from under your legs, and then step hands behind the pelvis, close the hips. And like we did in the beginning, we're going to roll down onto our back, just slowly, vertebra by vertebra. As slowly as is possible today, roll down onto your back. Bring your shoulders, your head down. And then we're going to open legs one more time into that butterfly shape. And now we find our reclining butterfly. If you want, you could bring arms overhead or out to the sides here. If you feel tension in the neck, you could rock your head from side to side. And take a few breaths in and out. Letting the chest letting the belly open. And then as you exhale, close your hips. You can still leave arms overhead. We're going to extend our legs onto the mat and go into the banana shape. It's like the half moon balancing standing pose that we did, but now we're lying down. So take hold of your right wrist with the left hand. Inhale, exhale, slide your feet, your heels towards the left side of the mat, towards the bottom corner of the mat. You might cross your ankles. If you want to add upper body, very gently pull or slide your shoulders, your arms, your upper back to the left side of the mat as well. So you find this kind of banana shape, crescent moon shape. And you can still adjust where the feet are, whether your ankles are crossed or not. And you might cross either leg on top. People have different preferences. But gently opening all the way from the right foot up to the right arm. Take another breath in and out. And then as you exhale, slowly release the pose. And then for a moment, hug knees in towards the chest. You could even lift your head towards the knees. And exhale, lengthen yourself back onto the mat. We'll do the banana pose on the other side. So again, arms could be overhead. You could take hold of your left wrist with the right hand and then start by sliding your heels, your feet, your legs towards the right side of the mat. Try to keep both buttocks on the mat. If you want to add upper body, then slide your arms, shoulders, head towards the right side of the mat. And breathing here, you could send your breaths down towards the left side, down towards the left hip. Take another breath or two in and out. And then slowly, in your own time, start to release your banana pose. Come back to center. You bring arms down, bend the knees, step feet on the mat, and then swing your knees a few times from side to side. Windshield wipers. And then in your own time, slowly start to look for your resting pose. And that could be any easy pose. It could be lying down on the back. You could have your knees bent, or you can extend your legs. You can also choose to lie down on your belly or maybe lean onto one side. Any easy pose where we could spend a few minutes resting, allowing the body to relax at the end of the practice. Take a few slightly slower breaths, again in and out. And if you've been practicing your Ujjayi breath, this would be a good time to let go of that Ujjayi breath. Let your breath relax. You might close your eyes. And with each breath out, let your body become just a bit heavier. Allow yourself to let go of tension that you don't need here. Softening the shoulders, the neck, softening your jaw. Let your breaths slide down towards the belly. Give yourself a moment to observe how you're feeling now. Observing without judgment. Give yourself another 5 to 10 breaths in and out. And then after those 5 to 10 breaths, you can choose to extend this Savasana pose. You can stay here as long as is needed, wanted today. Or if you feel that now it's a good time for you to slowly close the practice. First, bring some gentle movement to your hands, your feet. You could circle your wrist joints, move your ankles. Maybe rock the legs from side to side or turn head from side to side. And then in your own time, roll down onto one side. It could be the left or it could be the right side, and bring yourself up into a seat, into your own final seat. Give yourself a few more breaths here to slowly close the practice. If it's a part of your practice, you can bring palms together in front of the chest. As always, at the end of the practice, most importantly, thank yourself for taking this time to move, to breathe, to look after yourself. And I thank you very much for joining in. Namaste. Thank you.